maybe a little. Will you take that?
Yeah,
What's up, everybody?
you're live.
Welcome back to Between Two Slopes. Trent's fixing our camera here for us. We had everything
Is that
set
better?
up. Yeah, we had everything set up like 10 minutes before, but every time we go live on YouTube, it's like
It never,
messes.
yeah,
So, man, I had one suggestion for YouTube is to have a better preview so you could see like what things look like before you go live.
Yes.
They won't let us do that.
yeah.
Crazy.
We're getting better. At least I hope you guys can see that we're getting better. But yeah,
Yeah.
technology.
But hey, thank you all for joining us today. We are excited. It is April 8th today.
Yep.
Which means we are coming to the end of the season.
That's right.
Big deal, right? So kind of crazy because I feel like we just started doing YouTube videos, not that long ago. I mean, this was just last year we started doing these YouTube videos, and we're already ending, which is kind of crazy. So this is going to be our last stream for this season.
Yeah, and so what Austin's saying there is, like usually we'll start back up in September or maybe October. We'll see, just like the excitement around.
Yeah.
But in the summer, we don't really like take it off. We try to make other videos answering questions or going deeper into certain things. So if you guys are watching this in the summer, get like that itch, feel free to like drop comments. We'll see them, and then we can make videos about those during like our off time.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm gonna adjust this microphone real quick.
Yeah. But so this episode will be a little bit unique because it's our rounding out the season. And as we were talking about what we wanted to talk about, we are going to really define what this season was, the highlights, the lowlights, what we're excited for next season, and what we're not excited for, maybe speculations of what we think future seasons could hold.
Yeah. So yeah, which is great. We were also going to mention, like we said, what the closing days were for the resorts here.
Yeah.
Which is going to take 2 seconds.
Right.
And talk a little bit about, like you said, like what's been going on this year. There was a lot of changes this year within resorts and ski passes. And we also want to hear your guys' comments on some of this stuff because, we had, at least in Utah, we had a big issue with Vail Resorts in Park City.
Huge.
I've heard crazy stories about parking reservations at resorts going on, and some news that the Icon Pass is up in their charges again.
Oh, I'm sure they are.
So
I haven't even seen anything, and I'm sure they are.
Yeah, so I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts. If you think, is it still worth it? Do you like these reservation systems, that kind of stuff? So we'll hop into that as well.
Yeah. So let's do dates. When are the dates?
Yes. Let me pull it up right here because I had it. But I know first closing dates are April 20th.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Alta Ski Resort in Utah and Deer Valley are going to be closing on April 20th, which are the skiers only resorts.
Yeah.
Ironically, those are the first to close.
But those, that's Easter weekend, right? So that's pretty standard.
Yeah. And Park City is the 21st. So
the day after.
Yeah.
Monday.
So Vail Resorts are closing that. Yep.
But here's the thing. For those of you who are familiar with like Deer Valley, Park City, they are east facing. So they just get blasted all day by the sun. And so right now, it's not great over there. It just gets really warm really quick.
Yeah. It's something good to know as a skier snowboarder. A lot of people don't really get into this until they become more advanced. Even some people that have skied their whole lives don't really think much about where the sun is hitting.
Right.
As you get into the backcountry and you look at avalanche safety, knowing snow conditions is a lot more important. So, but some good knowledge to know is that east-facing slopes get the sun first, earliest and the longest. East and south-facing, because the south-facing slopes are, especially in Utah, because this is obviously is going to kind of border on where you're at. But the United States, kind of northern hemisphere, during the winter, the sun is in the more southern part of the sky. So you're getting more direct sunlight on the south sides, and then the east sides as the sun rises.
Mhm.
So the north facing and the west facing slopes tend to yield better snow quality conditions.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
if you're looking for good powder during spring skiing,
Which there is
yes,
plenty of.
little
It
secret
just
of the trade.
it just goes fast.
Right.
All right, so what else are we
Yeah.
looking to close?
So those were we hit Alta, Deer Valley, Park City, Bryan Head. If you're skiing down south at all, they're closing May 4th.
Whoa,
So I
that
know, kind of
seems late,
surprising,
yeah.
like, right? They actually have some pretty good altitude though, down there. It gets
Yeah.
cold. But yeah, they'll be closing May 4th. Solitude is saying May 11th, and Brighton the following week on May 18th. Now, I take this with a grain of salt because we're looking at 80 degrees at the end of this week.
Right.
And I don't think Solitude's going to be open that late.
No.
So these are subject to change. The ski resorts can only do what they can. So if you're looking to ski, get in now. Get in as
Yeah.
soon as you can. So
And one thing, there's some days where like slush skiing is really fun. It's warm, it's nice. It's really good opportunity to teach kids. I took my daughter out and taught her a
Yeah.
little bit when it was warm. And
to teach anybody, I've taken
right.
adults out spring skiing just because they don't have to be freezing their butt off on the lift.
Exactly,
So
because they're not like skiing hard enough,
yeah,
So, but with that, you're also one thing to keep in mind is, the science behind snow is
Yes.
that the dirt molecules or dust molecules attached to water molecules, they turn into ice, the snow falls. But then when that melts, it leaves behind all the dirt on top of the snow, right? And so just make sure you clean your skis when you're done skiing,
Yeah.
right? And at the end of the season, just give them a good wipe down.
and also know like how to prepare for this kind of skiing.
Right.
We've got different types of waxes that you can use for spring skiing conditions, right? So use a warm floral wax that's going to help wick away. They'll help the water slide off the ski easier.
Mhm.
I know certain resorts are trying to, use more clean waxes, clean chemicals and stuff. But there's a lot of options that you can do for that, and just learn as you're skiing in this kind of temperature as well. It's going to be a lot more work. It's going to be tiring on your hips and your knees because the snow is heavier,
Yeah.
right? So you end up pushing a lot of heavy snow. You got to pick your skis up in heavy snow, and so it becomes a little bit harder in as far as a workout is concerned in that case. So if you are teaching somebody or are new, just be prepared for that. Make sure you wax your gear because that'll help a lot
Yes,
in this
it
kind of a
will.
condition.
Mhm.
So
Okay, so
Yeah.
nice. Where are we jumping to next?
Yeah.
Resorts are closing.
resorts are closing, so I want to hear if there's any thoughts, and maybe we just chat a little bit about uh, these passes and these things going on, man.
Yeah.
So I've got this story for you,
Okay.
and this is kind of crazy to me. My friend, from one of my coworkers at work during my full-time day job. This is not my day job.
Maybe someday.
Right. So he told me he went up to go ski with his kid. They went up to Brighton, and he didn't have a reservation. We're talking end of the season, and he went up at 10:30. After 12 is when I think you can go without a reservation.
Yeah.
He said he went up at 10:30 and no one was there. He was like, half the parking lot was empty.
On a Saturday?
Yeah.
Or was this Saturday?
Yes.
I was
so.
there, and it was when I left.
Yeah.
It was like better than I've seen it all year.
Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, so literally that same day.
Yeah.
Okay. So you probably were skiing next to him. Okay.
Yeah.
He's up there skiing with his daughter, teaching her how to ski, same as you. So he went and parked his car up there. He said he had checked the night before to like try and get a reservation and couldn't get anything because people are doing this thing with reservations where you book out everything in advance, but they don't want to cancel it.
Right.
Right. So basically he just drives up, parks so he can go get a little bit of skiing in, came back, and he had $150 fine on his car for not having a reservation.
No way.
Right. Now, normally it's like, yeah, you got to follow the rules.
Right.
But you're up there, the parking lot's empty. Nobody is there.
Mhm.
To me, I'm like, this is a little bit ridiculous. I think those that should be fined honestly are the ones that are making these reservations and don't cancel them so that you can't go up and use the
So that you can
reservation
pick them
system.
up. Yeah.
They should have some sort of fine for that, you
Mhm.
know. But instead, it's kind of, to me, that irks me that, you know. Now we know these resorts and these passes and these skier guys, like they are not trying to cater towards locals,
No, not at all.
you know,
No
which is
need.
very frustrating as someone who likes to go skiing. And honestly, it's been pushing me further and further away from the industry,
Totally.
you know. So it's just interesting to think. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Because, you know, these systems, like they said, that it's supposed to make things easier for travelers. It makes sense. Hey, I'm going this weekend and I just want to make sure I can park so I can actually ski and have a good time. Yeah, I get that. You
Right.
know, the ones I think that do it right are kind of like Snowbird, where they have like half reserved, half non-reserved parking.
Mhm.
So you
That makes a
can,
lot of sense to me.
yeah,
You
right.
know?
But then you got places like Alta that you'll show up at that same time and they'll say, "Oh, sorry, you got to pay $25," and nobody's in the parking lot.
Right.
You know, so that's the same friend, same thing. Went up to Alta to go skiing with a buddy. Nobody's there. Spring
Right.
skiing, you know, end of the
Mhm.
season, and they said, "Sorry, you can't park here without a reservation, and you have to pay $25."
Holy cow.
So they went to Snowbird, parked in the free parking, went up and just crossed the gate between the two.
Get out of here. That's awesome.
So
Yeah.
it just, but it's crazy to me. I mean, I just feel like these resorts are really putting themselves at more risk and putting themselves out of business in a way. I know they say they make more money from the travelers than they do the locals, so they really don't care about the locals.
Right.
But to me, it's discouraging future generations for skiing.
Absolutely. Well, and like one of the first things that came to mind, especially since I was up there that day, was, I have a season pass to Brighton, and so I get 2 reservations with that pass. But you can pay for additional reservations, right? And that's $10, right?
Gotcha.
So if I've got 2 days and I want to make sure I'm getting up on like a third day, then it's $10. Okay.
Like within a week, you can use them. Like, do they refresh?
But yeah, they refresh. So you can hold, and since I was skiing on like
I heard
just one day a
Icon's
week.
got like 5 or something.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Like I wish I had 5,
Right.
but since I had 2 and I didn't want to pay, so I only did pay a couple times. But then when you pay, it's $10. Okay. So then if I didn't cancel that $10, because if when I did cancel, I get that $10 back, right? But if I were to not, the resort has no incentive to like check that, right?
Right.
Like economically, like they would just take your $10.
Yeah.
They don't care.
Yeah.
So that's infuriating, right? It's really disappointing to see that it's such an issue, especially in the late season when no one's there, or when conditions aren't that great, or when most Icon pass holders or travelers are done.
Right.
Then it's like maybe we do a reservation system up until April 1st.
Right.
That would make a lot of sense.
That was the other part, that's what I was thinking too. I'm like, wait, we're in a portion where we know you don't have a lot of people coming to the resort.
Right.
Can't you cancel this reservation early?
Right.
Blew my mind. I mean, the other thing you got to remember about these logistics are these reservation systems. The resorts are running these programs to help with the reservation system, but I highly doubt they're the ones monitoring it. In my experience, what happens is the company uses a third party to monitor it, and that third party is probably the one that collects on the fines for issues, because the resort really doesn't care.
Right.
They're probably like, that kind of money is pretty minuscule. I don't think they're really out there saying, let's make money ticketing cars that don't have a reservation. And it's most likely a third party like towing company, something that's coming up, and that they actually have the ability to write the tickets and collect the money on it.
Right. So that would make sense.
Yeah.
But like the economics of everything are crazy. And I want to switch gears just a little, but still on this topic of, in December, we saw the strike at Park City.
Right.
And that strike was, once again, it's really because the resort is focusing so heavily on like these out of towners experience that the locals and the people who work there are getting the shaft, right?
Yes.
And so it's really interesting because I was doing a lot of research because I was super sick when all of it was going on. So I was just watching YouTube videos like crazy.
Right.
But when you look at Altera or some of these big conglomerates like Vail, they have a portfolio, and depending on who's doing good and who's doing bad, it will always offset. So they don't really care about a couple bad days here or there because it will
No.
offset somewhere else, you
Right.
know? And so I think of like this parking and these agendas, they don't really care because like they've already made their money, for the year. And if they've got a couple bad days or like their reservations were full but only half showed up, so then they only made, half their revenue on food that they normally would. It doesn't really matter because another Boyne resort probably is having a great day.
Yeah.
So,
Right. Well, it's a very interesting, topic, especially when you're talking. We start talking about like some of these season pass options. You bring up Vail Resorts,
yeah.
and Vail Resorts, Park City was on strike, and people couldn't get up to ski. There were people suing because their vacation was ruined. I read an article of a guy that put together a class action lawsuit, which a class action lawsuit, if you're not aware, basically represents a broad spectrum of people that were affected versus just himself. And he had said he spent like 20 grand for his whole family to get ski tickets, lodging, rentals, all this stuff.
I remember reading about that guy.
Yeah. And it's crazy. I never actually heard how it finished, and I bet you it's still going on.
I think it's still going.
Those things don't go quickly. But man, I mean, so thinking about that, I'm talking to my brother about this the other day, and we're talking about what, future options for skiing. And I'm talking about how the Icon Pass just came out and said they're upping their pass like another $200 or something.
Holy cow! For like the full pass?
Yeah, for like all their passes on the line are going to get upped in price.
Really?
Yeah. So like just the standard Icon like base pass was going to be like $1,300 or something.
That's bonkers.
And that was like early season deals.
Yeah.
And so I was telling him about that, and he was like, "Oh, just buy an Epic Pass because Park City, they charge you like $300 a ticket for a day pass anyway."
Yeah.
Which is, I'm sure, why people just end up buying these like Epic passes for some of those resorts, because they're like, hey, if I'm going on vacation to Utah and I want to ski Park City for 3 days, might as well just buy their Epic Pass,
right,
instead of buying day passes there,
mm-hmm.
right? So
yeah,
it's kind of crazy, man. I don't know, with the upping in prices. I'll be honest, my personal change is, as a local, I say I'd rather just spend the money to go on a vacation and go ski in Colorado, go up to Montana. I love skiing Utah, but I haven't had the chance to get out as much as I would have liked to, especially just because money gets tight as you're growing up, right? So I'm more swayed towards doing something like that, or even going backcountry skiing. I talked about my heli skiing experience. I'm like, dude, let's save up to go heli skiing again.
Right. Like, I'd rather do 2 days of heli skiing than get a season pass almost,
Right.
And they're roughly the same price.
Yeah.
But then also if you're living out of state, let's say you live in Minnesota or Iowa, and you usually do a ski vacation, it's actually more cost effective to go ski in Switzerland.
Wow.
Yeah, someone was running the numbers because it's outrageous right now.
I've actually heard, those resorts in Europe are significantly cheaper in housing, food, and the passes themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Now, food is just more because the resorts up the price so much like if you go to a ski town in the US, you're just paying crazy abnormal prices.
Right. Well, we're kind of picking on Brighton today, but that's okay.
So you paid $20 at Alta for a hamburger.
Yeah, well, so I went night skiing with my brother-in-law and his cousin, and his cousin bought a grilled cheese. You want to bet how much it was?
Or $15?
12. And so we like ran the number. We're like, all right, you're looking at like 12 or 25 cents for the 2 pieces of bread, craft singles. That costed them $15 or 15 cents or 50 cents to make, and they sold it to you for $12. Crazy.
Right.
So yeah,
that's just ridiculous. So
I mean, we could harp on this all day, but let's we'll move.
Right. I want to hit back. We had a few people join in. So if you guys have any questions or comments regarding ski passes and the resorts and also like the reservation systems, do we like it? Do we not?
Right. Positive experiences, negative.
Exactly. Feel free to drop a comment in here, and we can talk a little more about those.
Yeah.
So we'll move on for now.
Okay. Before we move on too much, I actually wanted to talk about, if the guys at the top are making a lot, right, based off of all of these price hikes,
right?
The problem is they're not seeing a trickle down to the main level employees or the ski patrol. And I'm really curious to see if a different Vail resort will have a Park City situation next year.
Right.
Right. Because those employees have already seen the success at Park City. What's stopping them if they don't get the same benefits?
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Like if Vail, it's like the Vail ski resort itself had that, it would be a crazy day. And you'd have to do it at the same time. You'd have to do it right around Christmas because that's when it would have the biggest impact.
I mean, do we have any in Utah, any other Vail resorts? I'm trying to think. I know Park City is really
Park
the big
City
one.
is
Snowbird is technically owned by Vail, but
really? I didn't know that. They're like independent though.
But yeah, they run separately. And so I am curious about that because obviously you have different pays versus different states and where you live and whatnot. So I would be curious, and this is a fear, what's going to happen next year. So.
But I feel like you bring up the economics of like different states, but I really wonder if ski towns are almost exempt from the economics of different states and more in their own category, because I look at like Steamboat of Colorado and like Living at Brighton, and they would be comparable, except for obviously Brighton doesn't have as much available to live. Right. But like short-term rentals and long-term rentals or even options to purchase have got to be astronomical in all of these ski towns. So
absolutely.
I don't think any employees are getting away from that.
Yeah.
Which is the worst.
Right.
So
crazy.
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay. Now, highlights of the season.
Yeah.
What did you like about this season?
Yeah. So let's talk about what happened this year. Honestly, for myself, personal experience of skiing, obviously heli skiing was probably the coolest experience I've done in a long time. That was awesome. Had a great time up there. Episode wise, and even through that experience, my favorite topics that we covered. This is our first year of doing YouTube live, but I know I love talking about skis and talking about like gear, boots.
Yeah.
Right. While I was up heli skiing, I noticed we still have a lot of people that are scared of wider skis. And it's interesting because typically you see this in older generation skiers that have grown up skiing small skis, and if they wanted to ski powder, they just skied longer small skis.
Right.
But being up there, we were going out into the backcountry, and I ride these 116s, 116 centimeter underfoot skis. They have all these rentals up there, and we had quite a few people that I just was really surprised that they didn't want to ride a fatter ski. One was they felt more comfortable on their own ski, which makes sense.
Well, that makes sense, yes.
Right, so they wanted to try that. But I kind of want to give a quick review for people. If you are looking to buy new skis and you're worried about buying like a wider ski, my short answer is don't be.
Right.
It's not a ski that's built for carving on groomed slopes. But man, if you're going in the powder, you're going on in the crud, you are not going to regret this. Now, wider skis give you more stability when you're standing on them, right? They don't carve as tight, so you don't feel like you might have as much control for harder carves. But I don't even like to say you don't have as much control. You don't feel out of control in these skis. They're just not going to be, it's like driving a truck versus a race car.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're not going to be taking corners at like 100 miles an hour, instead your ski's just going to behave a little bit differently, but you're still going to make the corner.
Right. Well, and that's the other thing too. Like, you're like, okay, well, I really like to be like taking lots of quick edge to edge movements. Right.
Right.
And it's like, you can still do that on a fat ski, just like make it like stretch it out, and you'll still get that like sensation Obviously, you won't get them as frequently, but you're still going to be able to ski the way you want. It just and at the speeds you might want or like the terrain you might like, but you just got to take it at a little different of a pace. And I like that because it uses less energy,
Oh yeah.
right? Like,
And I'd say odds are if you're skiing in a spot where you're like, I'm considering getting a wider ski, you're probably like, if you're skiing crud or powder and you're like, you're talking about these tight turns, you're probably already having to slow down that kind of movement
right,
because you're now over skiing the ability of those skis.
right,
Right.
totally.
So don't worry, don't freak out just because it's wide,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, then I really feel like I think of like a QST 106,
Right.
right? I would feel so comfortable on a QST 106 anywhere,
Yes.
right? You could take that ski anywhere. So someone who's like, oh, anything above 100 or anything above 90 is too big. I would be like, put that person on a QST 106 or even a QST 98.
Yeah.
And blow that person's mind.
Right.
Right? Because it would be amazing.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yep.
I totally agree.
So I love talking about that. That was
Yeah.
a fun episode when we did skis and ski technology and board technology this year.
Mhm.
It was a great time. And that's something I would hope to just try and get out to more people,
Yeah,
you know?
totally. And we've made some like YouTube videos about, kind of some surface level, but like we love getting into like the nitty-gritty.
Yeah.
Especially like with specifics for different people, right? So if you guys did have questions, we could even, if we had enough, we could make a video with recommendations for individuals. I
Yeah.
think that we would actually have a lot of fun with that.
Definitely.
Some of my highlights, I didn't ski like a ton this year, but every time I did, I had a great time. And then I will say that doing YouTube has been a lot of fun because I feel like we've been having more engagement and we've been able to do more things, right?
Mhm.
Like the episode where we tuned a snowboard, right? Like super fun, got to share
Yeah.
some stories and like give people insights. It was a little bit longer of an episode, but I really felt that it had a lot of value from start to finish. But let us know if that isn't the case. And I just think it's like really fun to be able to do extra things with our audience than just have conversations,
Right.
because we've also been able to show ski boots and show different, footbeds and how that's worked. And that ski boot episode was our most popular. So we'll probably revisit that one next season.
Definitely.
Maybe we can get some BOA boots in here or something. That'd
Oh,
be
yeah.
sweet. And so, like, that's been really great to tinker with and learn more with. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
For those watching too, if any of you would be interested, I'm going to throw a little curious idea out there. Something I think we've kind of tinkered with as well was doing content and other sort of activities and things to get people involved outside of the ski season,
Mhm.
right? I know Trent and I like to put forth a few videos. We typically still like to get together and talk. We'll take a little break during the summer months, to spend time with family. But if any of you are interested, I would love to hear about that. I know myself, I've tinkered with some ideas, especially when it comes to hiking, rock climbing,
Mhm.
and other summer sports. We can get into mountain biking. Trent has extensive knowledge in biking as well, that we could talk about, from your experiences
Yes.
eventing.
Uh-huh.
As I try not to mislead you too much.
Yeah.
there.
I know a lot about bikes. I don't own a bike though, so I worked in a shop for a while.
Yes. So if you would be interested in that, please drop a comment or just throw us a thumbs up. One of the things that I like to do during our summers here too, as avid users of the outdoors, and I like to promote everyone is, when you go outside and you're spending time in the mountains or wherever you're at, if you're in Texas and you're, hiking through the mini mountains, if you
Right.
will, keep an eye out for trash and litter and collect,
Totally.
something that I've kind of we've gone out and done as part of the ski industry is actually hiking up the ski resorts and collecting beer cans and garbage.
You
and
would be
phones and-
amazed.
I mean, we found full snowboards
Yeah.
up there,
Crazy.
wallets and, but really I think it's just a good thing to throw out that, we, just taking care of our resorts, taking care of our our land and everything. It's something that I just want to promote, and promote to even if you're out of state. Like I said,
Yeah.
what can we do more for? And would you guys like to have some more content on that?
Yeah.
You know,
We got a couple of comments coming in. Learn to Fern says Super Smash Bros. Tournament.
yeah,
That would be like, I mean, I think like July.
do you want
if
this
we don't-
streamed?
Yeah. If we didn't have like a ton, like,
yeah.
or just like to say like, hey, like we're having a party. I love Super Smash Bros.
Trent and I will be
Austin and I
doing
will
that
play.
either way. So.
Yeah, might as well. And then another one says, yes, all things Utah mountain activities help give ideas on how to stay active.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
love that.
So maybe we make some videos, even if it's like 1 or 2 a month in the summer.
Yeah.
Like we could definitely make something like that happen.
Definitely.
Super easy.
No, I love that. Great comment, Chelsea. Chelsea Chic.
We could even do like where you take your dog.
Yeah.
Yep. Right.
Local hikes in Utah for dogs, because that's actually hard to find.
It is hard to find sometimes.
And I like this, topic of staying active, because it also can bridge the gap into, how can we stay prepared for skiing next year?
Right.
Because some people, if you want to learn more about like proper exercises and techniques to practice, we could get in a little bit of that field. Trent and I might have to do some experimenting this year.
Hey, that's fine.
And go find some new workouts and people out there doing like the rollerblade skiing, and try out some of these summers. There are skis you can take out on the road.
Like, they look like rollerblades.
Yeah, just like kind of weird looking rollerblades, but
but they're sweet. Learn says keep an eye out for a wedding ring on the slopes. That's funny because in the trip that Austin is talking about, where he and I went up, I lost my wedding ring.
That's right.
And then my wife and I went to go look for it, and we couldn't find it.
Yeah, I was with you. We looked for a bit.
Yeah, and then we got this. I got this one. It's $25. It's falling apart though.
So way to go.
It is. Yeah. I'll keep this one if I ever get a new one. I'll keep this one for activities. So if I lose it or breaks, it's whatever.
Right. Yes. Love it.
Yeah. Or are you saying in general, keep an eye out for any wedding rings? Like maybe we just go hiking with a metal detector, see what we can find.
Not a bad idea,
But
there's a lot of beer we'll find. I know that.
That's amazing.
Cans,
But
yeah.
Okay. Do you have any lowlights from this season? I mean, we kind of talked about some crappy aspects.
I was gonna say the lowlights, the things that like we dislike, for me, all stem from corporate America stepping into the game of the ski world.
Right.
Really just forcing their hand. There's been a lot of issues in the industry about hitting margins and making the right amount of profits, especially for smaller resorts.
Mm-hmm.
So these bigger resorts are coming in and buying out these smaller resorts. Some of them in Utah are trying to turn into premier destinations for rich people, basically big actors, people that want to come and rent out their whole resort for their friends and family. To me, it's a little ridiculous. I'm a bit more of a naturalist at that perspective, and just saying like nature's there for everyone, and it's meant to be taken care of and shared and respected. And so just the ski resorts themselves can cause a lot of damage. And so I know ski resorts are trying to do what they can to give back, because this is where we're having our enjoyment,
Yeah.
So just seeing a lot of that negativity around, the reservation systems and these icon passes and passes that raise their costs so much to make it harder for,
the average Joe,
the average person to go skiing.
Totally.
That is a big frustration of mine, you know, and we talked about transportation, issues in Utah. There's transportations on getting to the resorts that they look at spending more and more money, and, stuff that comes out of the taxpayer dollar, but the rich benefit and the average,
the little guy
take the hit.
Yeah.
So that kind of stuff, it's just getting worse. And I just feel like, hopefully that at some point there we can get this message out. And I hope that change could start evening out a little bit.
Well, and another dynamic, that we haven't really talked about is, Utah has a hockey team now, right? And so why that impacts the ski season is, someone could be planning a trip and they say, if we go to Utah, we can hit 3 resorts and we could see a Jazz game, a hockey game, or so we could go skiing that night, we see a Jazz game, then go skiing that night, see a hockey game, and then go skiing and then fly out, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of draw to Utah, and these big corporations are if they're almost like a cohesive unit, right? They're able to really benefit from each other and have synergy because they're drawing in a similar crowd, right?
Absolutely.
And so I'm excited that hockey's here and that there's all this stuff. It's just really hard to see, like you're saying, that like if there's not a check to it, it can be really devastating.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to hear anyone's thoughts on that. I know Snowbird started doing a skip the line.
Oh my gosh!
And I don't know about you. I mean, I never was a big Disneyland fan, so like
I was back when it didn't cost $1 zillion.
Even then, I didn't really like it. But I'm just curious to hear your guys' thoughts. I mean, you paid $300 to go skiing. Let's say this: you're at Snowbird and you pay $200, and then somebody comes in because they paid $400 and they get a skip in front of you.
Right.
I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Is it worth it? Is it not?
Like my personal thoughts, like if I'm passing somebody, if I paid $400, I'd be like, wow, this is amazing. But really, like on a powder day, it's just, I feel like it's monetizing something that should belong to everybody, right? Like a powder day should almost be shared or worked for. But when you pay,
it ruins the culture.
Yes, exactly. Totally. There's no more of this culture of like, oh, I know where the secret spot is, or oh, like if we do X, Y, and Z, we can get over here and make sure we get away from everybody and get some turns in. When someone who paid extra is just laughing, right? And they're just collecting.
If you guys have any thoughts, how can we maintain the ski culture? If you like the old school ski culture, how can we keep that going? I know Trent and I push for people to go check out shops because shops can easily be put out of business from online sales.
Mm-hmm.
And they do a good job at maintaining a good ski culture for the most part. But what else can we do? So keep away from the negativity.
Learn to Fern says she's a sucker for fast passes. I feel that.
Yeah.
But I actually want to talk on shops a little bit because I feel like when I was in Steamboat, shops were like the lifeblood, right? That's where you went for information on not only like conditions and what's been going on, but also like what the locals like and even like where to eat, right? Like Lauren and I got some of our best recommendations on where to eat from like shop employees, right? And so it's just like go into a shop, experience it. And it's funny that we're telling you this because we're obviously not in a shop right now, right? But at the same time, if we could bring you the like shop experience, and maybe one day we could be able to on like a interface like this, we would in a heartbeat because we know that there is value in that shop experience. And there are really smart people in the shops who are doing some really cool things, and there's really great products that you can see a variety of in the shop. And so like buying online is great and it's a good option, but if you really want the information that you're looking for, then go to a shop and they'll help you out.
Yep. Exactly.
No, does that make sense?
I love that. If you are imagining, most people can relate to the surf culture. And this is a big thing in the US, actually. I don't know how big it is in other countries. I know Australia's got some pretty big ski culture as well.
Mm-hmm.
But places that had that like unique surf culture kind of instilled that same idea within their ski culture.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting because a lot of surf shops, if you guys go down to any beach, the beach vibes.
Mm-hmm.
This is the same vibe that skiing and snowboarding had for a long time. And now it's kind of moving more towards a generalized sport based off of money, versus going out. I mean, could you imagine? And I don't even want to say this because it's almost like, don't jinx it. So I'm going to knock on some wood here.
Yeah.
But like, what if you had to pay to go into the ocean? Like besides parking, like dedicated zones, like, You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This kind of stuff that's
They
just
like-
like a lot of monetizing of the natural earth.
Yeah.
So
That obviously none of us own.
yeah,
None of us own that.
I'm gonna knock on wood again because I really don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
Awesome, man.
But that's kind of the big things that we wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
Were there anything else anything for the summer you're excited about or next season you're excited about?
No, I mean, I think we got some great ideas that we'll definitely look at. Thank you all for your suggestions and for your continued support
Yeah.
through this live streaming process. It's been really fun. I know we've had a decent amount of views coming after the streams as well, which is really fun to see. You know,
Yeah.
we like seeing those views. We want to know what we can do better, how we can improve more. Trent and I are constantly looking for ways to do that, to upgrade our cameras, our microphones, things like that. They take money, so
Right.
we're working on the best thing you could do to help us is to share these channels, help us find a way to monetize our videos so that we can upgrade and give you better content.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. And we're looking like in the summer, hopefully we can make some really cool stuff for you guys and get, like a lot of things we're doing right now are just in like our garages. But even still, like we got some paint. We still haven't painted my garage. But then we'll like paint and hopefully create an area that sounds better and looks better to bring you guys, better content. So
Yeah.
let us know what you guys want to see though, and we'd love to, hone in on that and really, like I said too, like if you guys wanted like personalized recommendations, we have a website, or you can leave a comment. Like just tell us a couple specs about yourself, what you're looking for, and if we had enough of those, we would just make a video. We wouldn't use your name. We'd just be like, so and so is like, these are the specs of an individual. This is what we would recommend, right? So we would love to do that for you guys too.
We've got a few comments on here, and leave a comment if you'd be interested. I know we've looked at creating a Patreon, something that you could donate to help support us, and also like some T-shirts or something that we could get out to you.
Yeah.
And support, for supporting our business. So.
Yeah. Let's see. Learn to Fern says how to put snow stuff into storage: skis, gloves, helmets, coats. Is there anything specific that needs to be done?
It's a great question.
Items be put away for the summer.
That's something we totally should have thought about.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
We should make that a video quickly.
Yeah.
And post it.
Yeah. Yes, we will put something out there. I will say, just because the question's been asked here, to help give you a quick answer, yes, there are things you should do, especially depending on where you live. What we want to do with any of our equipment is clean them.
Yeah.
Right? Clean everything. You can wash a lot of your ski clothes.
And please do.
Yes. Right. And you can also buy, I think Nikwax is the popular company that Trent and I have used before. That is like a water repellent for your clothes. You can wash it. They sell you like a detergent that you can use and something you can apply afterwards to keep the waterproofing on your clothing there. Right.
Yeah.
So definitely clean all your gear, wipe down your skis and snowboards. We also oftentimes recommend for a drier states like Utah to do a thick wax.
Yeah.
And a thick wax is just the same as any kind of waxing of your gear, but you don't buff or scrape it off.
Yep.
Right. It just allows that wax to dry out so that the plastics and the base material don't. Right.
Yeah.
And I would do this in most states if you can. And also, maybe even this is kind of different, but if you have some WD-40, throw some on a towel and wipe down your edges. It'll help keep the edges from drawing water out of the air so they don't rust.
Yeah.
Right. So little tricks that you can do to help keep your gear in good shape.
Yeah, but I think we should make a video on that.
Yeah.
Like next week.
Yeah.
Chelsea said, my boss is having this issue where she pays so much for a pass to multiple resorts for her and her family, flying out of state. She wants to get her money's worth. Any advice on passes?
Yeah, that's a great question.
That is a good question. And I would really say it would take a lot of planning, right?
Yeah.
Because you'd have to say, what states do you want to hit? And would there be like a mountain collective pass that you could get involved with?
This is like the benefit of Icon, Mountain Collective, Epic Pass.
Mhm.
You know, these multi-resort passes. This is like the one benefit that I
Yeah.
like, you know, is that you can go to multiple resorts. I have the Icon Pass, you know. I have got other family that have done like the Epic Passes, and those are really the best way, and that is the main selling point
Mhm.
of those ski passes on why you should get them versus like a season pass to a resort, because you're going to get a better value,
Right.
right?
So really, like, to answer your question, if I had the disposable income to, plan multiple trips to really make the most out of my Icon Pass,
Right.
and let's say I lived in Utah, I would really look and say, okay, I want to hit this Colorado resort and this Colorado resort. What else can I do on there? And if I took like a long weekend and went, and then I would do like a couple of those. And I would also, because I'm an accounting nerd, I would also run the numbers and see how long I would need to stay at a certain place to like maximize my numbers there, right?
Yeah.
So like if I were to fly into Colorado and I stayed in Loveland so I could ski Loveland, and then would I be able to also ski Steamboat? And then
Right.
like what other concerts or venues could I attend in that weekend or that 4-day stretch? And then planning 4-day stretches like that,
Right.
throughout the season.
Absolutely. I think, you know, it would be hard to find another way as far as like lowering cost on the pass,
Mhm.
pass like the Icon Pass. So rereading your question a little bit there, Chelsea, I will also comment, you know, how do we get the best value of these? Because we spent the money too. So there
Yeah.
are other things you can do and benefits of having those passes, because oftentimes we don't always think about the benefits we have. With the Icon Pass, you do get discounts for certain types of gear. I think even some travel discounts,
Yeah,
if
I
I
think
remember
so.
correctly.
And in some places, you get food discounts too.
Yeah, right. So you take advantage of those discounts that you have. I mean, I know Icon allows you to ride the bus here in Utah up to
Yeah.
the ski resort. So you have different ways to save money there. As well as don't forget to utilize your benefits from like your credit cards, using credit card perks for travel, because they offer a lot of benefits there. You're going to spend a lot of money on hotels. Best way to do that is to book in advance, like Trent is saying, is weighing
Yeah.
costs, booking in advance. Probably the most expensive part about ski travel is like the hotel cost, to
Right.
be honest with you. So
It's like if you have an Icon Pass, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Chelsea says she's an accountant too, so she'd love that kind of comment.
Yeah.
Great. Get that Excel spreadsheet up and really get to work there.
Right.
So awesome. Well, I think that's
Yeah.
about it.
I think we're gonna wrap it up here,
Yeah.
guys. If you have any other questions, throw them in, throw in a comment,
Yep.
shoot us a message. And you know, Trent and I actually we may have one more video coming up for you talking about ski storage that Lauren threw out there, which was a great comment for us. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
And we'll also work on a way for any potential donations. If you guys have anything that you'd like to help us out with, I think that'd be a
We'll
great
keep
idea.
you posted.
So.
But we're excited to keep growing, and we're really excited. This year was really unique for us because we also changed our name. Like a lot of things changed for us this year.
Yeah.
So we're excited to be between two slopes with you guys.
Keep snowboards included.
Yes, that's right.
Right.
And we'll look forward to talking more. Thank you so much.
Awesome. See you later.